the supply, but in particular the accessibility of affordable GP visits. That's a great initiative. We also support again the new regime for child support for Help to Buy and for affordable housing in this state. We're pleased to see some of our road projects are being funded, in particular the Kwinana Freeway widening. We continue to work with the federal government on other projects, and we'll continue to work with the federal government for more funding, in particular in the lead up to the election and over the next upcoming years. We've also got another $640 million that's been provisioned to the state that is unallocated as yet, and we'll be working with the federal government on the allocation of that road funding to key priorities around the state. Any questions?
Are you genuinely okay with the amount of funding that's in that new infrastructure spend?
Well, we did get notification last night about the $640 million of extra funding, which wasn't highlighted in the budget, but highlighted as a provision, and that will be allocated to the state. So we'll be working with the federal government on that. And look, my view on budgets, and at any point in time, there's always more to do. And we're very keen to continue to work with the federal government, both through an election campaign and hopefully post-election campaign, to deliver on more projects around the state.
I mean, the Kwinana Freeway project had been announced twice previously, in fact. So there's nothing new in their third WA roads. As Transport Minister, that must be difficult too.
As I said, we'll continue to work with the federal government, but in particular on the road projects program. We have a lot of funding over the next couple of years, over $2 billion from the Commonwealth, to deliver the existing range of road projects, of which we have a lot, and that includes things like the Tonkin Highway extension, the new interchanges on Tonkin Highway, the new intersections along Reid Highway as well. So we've got a lot of projects to get on with, and we'll continue to work to make sure that year 3 and 4 of our program is filled with new initiatives.
And across forward estimates, WA's road funding goes down, not up. Every other state goes up.
That's correct. The road funding does go down over the forward estimates, but we got clarification by the federal minister that there's also a provision of $640 million for new initiatives that we'll work with over the election campaign and post-election. So we're very confident as we move forward. We'll continue to have new projects in those years to continue our strong momentum of delivering transport initiatives across the state.
So where is that in the budget? Where is that?
It's post-2029. It's a provision post-2029.
So it's not in the papers?
Yes.
So post-2029, so between now and 2029, WA gets nothing?
As I said, we'll continue to work with the federal government to make sure we get more projects and continue to make sure we have a strong program of delivery. Over the next 2 to 3 years, as I said, we have a number of projects that we'll be delivering in conjunction with the Commonwealth. That includes the Tonkin Highway extension, the new interchanges, in particular on Welshpool Tonkin, the Reid Highway interchanges, and a number of projects around the state.
When you see a project like the Victorian Road Blitz, $1 billion in the Melbourne's West, where Labor's clearly trying to sandbag that area because there's potential for them to lose seats there. Surely that must be frustrating. And do you think that Labor's good result at the state election a few weeks ago has given Albanese comfort in that he doesn't have to actually give that much to WA to ensure that he
I
keeps the seats?
want to make a point more generally, which I've made before, about funding initiatives across the nation. Look, we've always delivered very good value for money for our road projects and rail projects. I know there's been some criticism of our rail projects, but we've delivered real value for money. Over East, they've got billions of dollar projects that when they blow out by $2 or $3 billion. And so as a result, those numbers over there are very, very large. In WA, we've delivered value for money, we've delivered affordable projects, and it will continue to focus on a range and suite of initiatives to deliver reduce congestion and improve safety across the state.
Do you think West Australians feel insulted by this breakdown though, that we're not getting much out of the federal government for infrastructure projects?
As I said, over the next few years we have a lot of projects to get on with, and that's something that I'm very satisfied with, in the fact that we have a whole range of projects, billions of dollars of road projects. We're finishing off the last Metronet project. So we've got a range of projects. We'll work in particular to make sure we continue to get new projects, in particular in year 3 and 4 of those estimates of the program, to make sure we can continue to deliver a record amount of infrastructure across the state.
Does it mean that Erindale Road upgrade can't happen until after 2029?
Oh no, we'll continue to work on that.
But you don't have the money for it.
We have $350 million that we'll provide for in our state budget,
But it costs $700 million.
and we'll continue to do the detailed planning and
500 million.
sorry?
Sorry, it's 500 million.
Yeah. I got for Kwinana Freeways 350. Yep. So in relation to that one, we will in our state budget, of course, allocate the funding to Reed and Erindale as part of our first budget, and then of course we'll start the detailed planning. We've made commitments to start that project before the next state election, and we will.
But you won't be able to finish it if the Commonwealth doesn't pop up for it.
As I said, this is always a continuing, I suppose, discussion. So we continue and we'll continue to have that discussion with the federal government about getting funding for Reed Erindale. As I said, there's a state election campaign, a federal election campaign coming up, plus of course budgets and mid-year reviews after that. We're very confident with our program of works, which will see us undertake the detailed planning and commencing those works before the next
Will
election.
they get half a road?
They'll get a full road.
What about, post 2029, if that's where this secret kitty is, then that means any road announcements in WA during the federal election campaign won't actually start work until after another federal election.
No, because what yesterday was a federal budget, so that's the funding that's allocated in the federal budget. They have the ability to make election commitments, just like we did during an election campaign, and then they would provide for those through their first budget setting, which will be their mid-year review.
But therefore, the post 2029 $600 million, that's just fake money at the moment.
Well, that's what
Not in the books.
they've committed to us, the $640 million provision. We'll continue to work with them. And as I said, this is always a continuing discussion. It's never a point in time, it's a continuing discussion. We'll continue to work to fight for Western Australia and to get as much infrastructure funding as possible. But noting, I'll just say this, noting too, when you look across the federal budget, they have very much supported Western Australia when it comes to extra health funding, more funding for schools. So there is a lot of funding across, sorry, that card.
It's not a car. It's not a car.
Sorry. When you look across the federal budget, there is additional funding for the state in areas like health and also education.
But what more did the commitment you received last night take? I mean, it's not in the budget papers. Is it a handshake deal? What actual commitment?
It's in a
have you
letter
got?
from the federal
So
government.
you've got a letter
Yes.
guaranteeing $640 million post 2029.
Yes.
Can you show us that letter?
I suspect we can, yeah.
You've often spoken about the importance of WA getting its fair share of GST. Why are you okay with us not getting our fair share in this area?
I will continue to fight for more funding, there's no doubt about it. But what I'm saying is this is not a story that ends today. This is a continuing story and a continual challenge for Western Australia to continue to get our fair share. So we'll continue to make sure that we represent ourselves and get as much infrastructure funding as possible. What I'm saying is that over the next 2 to 3 years we have significant projects to roll out, so I'm very confident with the level of spending on infrastructure around the state over the next 2 to 3 years. And in particular, what we'll do is make sure we get new projects allocated for those out years.
If we
What
had
good is
more money.
boasting about 30 visits from the PM to WA if they can't even stump up money for the major projects that you've asked for?
Well, we'll continue to have that dialogue. We'll continue to make sure Western Australia gets its fair share. As I said, from my perspective, we've got a lot of projects to get on with, whether it be the Tonkin Highway extension, whether it be the new interchanges on Reed and also Tonkin. There's a whole rollout of infrastructure, the new Canning Bus interchange. There's a whole new range of projects we'll get on with while we'll continue to ensure that we get more projects across the forward
Has
estimates.
your government lost its magic touch when it comes to negotiating with the federal government?
Oh no, as you see across the budget, there's been a lot of new initiatives for Western Australia, as I said, in particular in the health and education space, and we'll continue to fight for more infrastructure.
Peter Dutton's already committed
up to them, so that'll be a good question for them. But in relation to Peter Dutton, of course, he's going to roll back the production tax credit. Some of his decisions, in particular, winding back incentives for more development in the state would hurt WA. I think Dutton over the past few weeks has shown that he is very much trying to paint himself to be unelectable, and the fact that he's also trying to make sure that Western Australia would lose out by things like rolling back the tax production credit.
Other issues, guys. Maybe one more question.
Are you disappointed with the North West Shelf decision delay?
Well, as we said, gas is very important to WA. We see gas as an essential part of helping other countries, of course, transition, and also Western Australia transition. So we very much believe gas is an important and vital part of the WA story and the national story. So we look forward to having a decision as soon as possible.
Is politics getting in the way? The suspicion that the decision is being delayed to avoid upsetting either industry or the environmental lobby before the election?
As we said, we really support gas developments in this state.
But is politics getting in the way of a decision?
I'll make other people can make that commentary. What I'll do is make sure that we continue to say that we want a decision as soon as possible to support investment certainty in Western Australia and to ensure that we continue to deliver quality and affordable energy across the state, but also support other countries in their transition.
Are you hearing evidence that investors are rethinking putting their money into WA as a result of decision delays? Has your phone been running hot this morning?
No, my phone has not been running hot. Look, I think everyone very much supports these types of developments in Western Australia and would like to see a decision as soon as possible.
Large air tankers are about to leave WA. Given there's still a threat of more fires throughout, is the government giving equal thought to acquiring its own air tankers rather than contracting?
Yeah, okay. We take advice from the Emergency Services Commission on that, so I'll probably need to take further advice. But look, the ability to fight fires from the air is something that has really, I think, evolved in Western Australia over many decades. One of my first roles in the then Premier's office, Premier Gallop, was helping support a bid to increase the aerial firefighting ability, and we've seen a massive increase in our ability and our aircraft to help fight fires. So I'd need to take more advice on that, but there's no doubt the ability to fight fires from the air by both fixed wings and also heli tanks and their equivalent is very much vital to supporting fire suppression in the state.
The PTA is investigating a group of Shepparton College boys talking about raping women on public transport. Is that shocking to you? And should schools in WA be doing more to kind of address that far right, insidious kind of?
It is shocking, and I've heard about it just now. So it is shocking, and so we understand the school's undertaking an investigation, and I'll make sure my agency provides all information and all evidence it can to support any investigation.
You're a mother of teenagers as well. Should schools be doing more to address this kind of behaviour that's emerging, from the internet in young men?
Yeah, it's a very disturbing thing that's happening out there on social media, and I understand some of the key proponents of that and what it's doing to young people's minds. It's very disturbing. I hear about it sort of a little bit from my children about what is being promulgated or what is being put out there. It's very, very disturbing, but this is the problem with social media, is that these very disturbing, I'd say humanless. I don't know the word to describe it. When people disassociate values and people from what's happening around the world, it's a very disturbing thing. And I would say it's a challenge for parents, it's a challenge for schools, it's a challenge for the entire community, as sometimes, as I said, people disassociate what's happening on their phones to what is actual real life, and they don't understand the difference.
Last night, the town of Victoria Park moved a motion that will ultimately further delay the development of Lathlane Park. Purple Club's coming out and saying women's sport is suffering as a result. They say their facilities asking for the state government to step in and take over the project. Is that something that you discussed?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed with what's happened at Lathlane Oval. The state and federal governments have committed $14 million between us to revamp that pavilion, or to actually build a new grandstand, which will have new services and new facilities for women football. So currently those change rooms are not up to what we expect in relation to supporting the women's game. And so there's been a project that's been put forward for many years. State and federal governments have committed $14 million. The elected representatives continue to knock back the recommendations made by the administration. So let's make this clear. Last September, there was a recommendation to the council to support additional funding to get that grandstand underway. That was deferred. It came back last night. The prices increased again, and then they've again rejected it. I'm very passionate about community sport, and the state and federal governments have got $14 million on the table. What they've done is turn their back on young kids and women wanting to play the game and getting change rooms that they need to actually have a safe environment in which to play the game.
Looking forward to Parliament's return, and your first question from Basil Zemplis as opposition leader.
Oh look, I saw parts of the press conference yesterday, and I mean, I don't normally feel sorry for Liberal Party representatives, but Libby Mettam having to stand by Basil Zemplis when Basil Zemplis was trying to preach about discipline in the party was quite extraordinary. So Basil undermined Libby. Basil tried to take Libby's job before the election. Now Basil's taken Libby's job after the election. This is something that I think, again, shows Basil's all about Basil. He said yesterday, I think in the press conference, I hope Libby understands why they've elected me. So completely disrespecting Libby, insulting Libby, and walking over her to try and get that leadership.
On election night, he was critical of Labor for choosing Roger Cook over two women as leader. Has that comment aged well?
Well, it hasn't. A lot of what he said, it doesn't age well. It pretty much unfolds the next day. So look, he's full of hypocrisy. He's full of double standards. He basically, as I said, he was disloyal to the leader. His challenge to try and get the Liberal Party leadership before Christmas was destabilising and was very much part of the result on election night. The lack of unity, the disloyal nature of what he did helped to undermine the Liberal Party, and he is a key reason why they didn't do as well as they thought.
Just on the opposition leader, yesterday in his press conference, he also said he would target government, wasteful government spending, and part of that was obviously the NRL team and the racetrack. Do you have a mandate to build that facility, given you've won Victoria Park and there's 26 MPs in Parliament that suggest that the public bought what you were selling?
Well, we took it to an election. We won the election, and in particular, if you look at some of the swings, there were. You wouldn't say that Victoria Park was an outlier in swings against the government. In relation to what Basil Zemplis said, I mean, talk about priorities. He closed down a women's shelter. He tried to block a public primary school, and his focus has been trying to get an astronaut statue in the city. That's been his priorities. He's been all over the place. He's wanting a new waterfront, a bigger bell tower. As I said, the hypocrisy, the double standards, the fact that he just says anything and never lives up to anything he actually claims, again was demonstrated yesterday, and I'm sure we'll see it over the next 4 years.
Can you give us an update on the NRL? Have you spoken to Peter V'landys? Have you seen that report that suggests that the $50 million economic boost each annually?
I haven't spoken to Peter V'landys. To be honest, my focus has been on some of this community infrastructure, and I've been very much involved in looking at what's happening at Lathlane to see how we can break through on that.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.